Greetings, welcome to the Metal Book Tavern. I haven't had a book haul since June. I bought 12 books. Here they are. Usually I wait for 8 books to make a book haul, but now I decided to wait and buy a few more books. Some of these books I have already shown here in my videos, but I'm going to show them again. So the very first book I want to show you is Best Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen. This is Macmillan's Collector's Library edition. I really like this edition very much because it's small, it's light, it's a hardcover, and it has these beautiful golden pages. For those who don't know, I have already made a vlog where I read Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales. I selected 9 and read them and commented them. Go check that one out. I haven't read all the tales from this book, but I'm going to slowly read them. The short stories from Hans Christian Andersen are a good read when you want something short and fast. This edition contains the famous stories like The Ugly Duckling and Thumbelina and Snow Queen and The Tinderbox, but it also has The Dryad and The Ice Maiden, the less known ones. I even have a video on TikTok where I unbox this. On my channel I have a video about books from different languages. And I think I made it too early because I eventually got another book whose original language was Danish. Fear and Trembling by Søren Kierkegaard. I know that this is something philosophical, dealing with religion, particularly Abraham sacrificing Isaac. That's all I know. I originally wanted a Penguin House edition, but I found this one, Penguin Classics, as an imprint of Penguin Books. Alright, this is also Penguin readers. This is also Penguin. Okay, I can't say anything about this book because I don't know much, but I'm willing to read and to know. On my channel I have a video why it's worth reading Hermann Hesse, Beneath the Wheel. Beneath the Wheel made Hermann Hesse one of those authors I automatically buy. I collect his books and I found myself Damien. This is the story of a young man who grows up and sees how hypocritical society around him is. And he discovers his dark self. Sounds very interesting. And that's all I know about this book. I haven't read it yet. Can't wait to read this. It's a very small book, you can read it in one night. Now next comes the book that I wanted to buy for a long time because I have so many memories with this book. Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. When I was a teenager, I had an English tutor and together we read Little Women. Although we read the adapted version, I remember how I read translated words and I learned the sentences by heart. I also had the Penguin Readers edition of this book, but it was level 1. It was very small. Finally, I have myself the original. Well, it's a Russian translation, but it's still a fully original book. I mean, it's not adapted. Here we have the story set during the Civil War in the US. There's a family of mother, father and 4 girls. Because there's a war, father goes off to the war, leaving the mother and 4 girls behind. Even though the war happens, the girls are still trying to live. They're growing up, they're experiencing different emotions and events. They develop various friendships and love, and they follow their hearts and ambitions and so on. All 4 girls are different and they have different characters, they have different ambitions and interests and values. I remember the 1994 adaptation of the film with Winona Ryder as Jo. That was a very lovely adaptation, loved it very much back in the day, I watched it a lot. Oh, the back of my edition reminds me that in 2019 came out another film with Emma Watson and Meryl Streep in main roles. I haven't seen the new adaptation. I don't want to be honest. I like I like the old one. No, nothing against the new adaptation, but I'm not into movies that much these days. Oh, and by the way, I literally got this book for free because I had a card of the shop where I bought books and I had enough credit to buy this book without actually paying, so literally got it for free and I liked it. I am continuing to collect Harry Potter in English. Here's the Order of the Phoenix and the Half-Blood Prince. Oh. These editions are very beautiful. Just look how nice these covers are. Oh, and Snape looks kinda fun. Oh, and this one has Malfoy on the back. However, one issue I have with these editions is that they are kinda hard to open, and I bet these are going to have lines on the back, and I don't like it. Apart from these two, I have the first 3 books and they open very well. Order of the Phoenix is so huge. Oh, I just opened the page where Ron reads the letter from Percy. Now I have 2 books left to buy, Goblet of Fire and Deathly Hallows. Technically, I have Deathly Hallows in Russian. I need the English editions, these particular Bloomsbury editions. I want to get myself all 7 books and read them. I don't want to just open the book on my favorite moments, I want to read them. From Mr. and Mrs. Dursley were proud to say they were perfectly normal, thank you very much, to All Was Well. From the first sentence to last. The next comes the book that I found out about in 2011, I think. And I wanted to get it ever since. It was a birthday gift from my friend. I really wanted that book, and finally, so many years later, my friend got me for my birthday Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. It was written around 1911, just like The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I cannot wait to read this. Here we have a couple who wants to adopt a child, and they expect a boy. Instead, they get a loud, imaginative girl who has many different adventures. This is often thought of as a standalone book, but this is actually the first part of the series. I saw the full box set in the shop, and I decided I'd rather read the only first one, just like Ender's Game. I don't know, maybe I'd want to read the next installments, but for now I'm fine with the first one. Speaking of series, now the next book I got specifically because it was standalone. Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. Probably this is an unpopular opinion, but there are too many fantasy series. Sure, a lot of them are awesome. I love Wheel of Time, I love the Kingkiller Chronicle, I love the Stormlight Archive, A Song of Ice and Fire, and so on. But we need more standalone books as well. In a city next to a magical city of Elantris, there has to be a wedding. And the bride is on her way to the city, but before she arrives, the prince dies. Even though the wedding doesn't happen, the princess is determined to stay in the city. She wants to find out what happened to the prince, and she wants to free her new city and her birth city. So the princess is determined to solve some mysteries and save this city, her old city, and everyone else from the high priest and from the curse. That's all I know about the story. I have already read the first 2 chapters and I like them so far. It's quite easy to read Brandon Sanderson, even though his books are quite huge, usually. This is a British edition of the book. It's from Gollancz. It's the same publishing house that published The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear. This is also a 10th year anniversary edition. This book originally came out in 2005. Also, if you see these grey pages, these are the prologue of Way of Kings, the first book in the Stormlight Archive series. The next book I saw in a store, and I knew I needed to get this book. I needed it. Misery by Stephen King. If you look at the book and you don't know about Stephen King, you may think this is a winter fairy tale. Spoiler alert, it's not. The main character of the book is a writer named Paul Sheldon. He is famous for writing stories about a woman named Misery Chastain. One day, Sheldon becomes dissatisfied with Misery and kills her off, and then he gets into a car accident. Then he is found by Annie Wilkes, a nurse. She takes him into her house and takes care of him, and she happens to be a huge fan of Sheldon. However, she doesn't like what he did to Misery, and she forces Sheldon to write. She binds him to the bed, and Sheldon's life turns into a nightmare. This is one of the books I'm looking forward to read. I also have an adapted version of this book, and I made a TikTok comparing the first pages of both the adapted and this edition. Speaking of Stephen King, I also got myself 11/22/63. I remember when a show based on this book came out, I watched the first episode and I didn't go too far. But the story is about a guy who finds in the basement of a cafe a time machine, and he goes back to the past to save John F. Kennedy from being assassinated. Given that the author is Stephen King, you can tell that this isn't going to end well. I don't know what happens in the book yet, I haven't read it, but I expect Stephen King to be like, oh, you wanted to do a good thing, it's not going to end well. You have the picture of JFK with his wife Jacqueline. Both of these books are from Hodder Publishing House. Do not confuse with Hodder from Game of Thrones. I also have different seasons from this same publishing house, and look, the sizes are different. This is much bigger than this one. Speaking of different seasons, I read the first 3 stories, and I have one left. Because it's a winter tale, The Breathing Method, I'm going to read it later, during the winter. Next come books I saw when I was in Moscow. I did not expect to buy them, but then they arrived here and I knew I needed them. The very first book is Enter Night, Metallica, the biography by Mick Wall. Here you have James Hetfield on the stage with guitar and microphone. I already read this biography. This is one of the best books I've ever read. I felt a lot of strong emotions while reading this: anger, happiness, grief, and so on. Mick Wall tells us the biographies of each Metallica member, how the guys met, how they formed Metallica, how they rose to fame, how their ups and downs, and so on. The death of Cliff Burton, Napster, and things like that. The thing I don't like about this particular edition of the book is that it has a lot of grammar mistakes. It's also mentioned that the late Cliff Burton loved to listen to Kate Bush. It's kinda nice to hear, given that both Kate Bush and Metallica were heard on Stranger Things. I haven't seen the 4th season of Stranger Things, but I have seen the scenes where Kate Bush and Metallica are played. I absolutely love the scene with Max, Vecna, and Kate Bush, and also the scene where Eddie plays Master of Puppets. I can say that that scene inspired me to get this biography. Led Zeppelin's biography was kinda dry. It was kinda hard for me to read. Maybe that's because it was in English, I don't know, but it was still kinda dry. This, on the other hand, was splendid. Also, to be honest, I got myself Led Zeppelin because I wanted to read about those times, the 70s, and their rock and roll lifestyle. I think Metallica had even bigger rock and roll lifestyle. I'm not a Metallica fan, and I think you don't have to be a Metallica fan to appreciate this. After all, Metallica is one of the biggest bands in the world, and you cannot escape them. It's nice to have a Metallica biography on my shelves all the same. And finally, the last book in this video. I saw it in Moscow, I wanted to buy it. And I was glad this book arrived here, and I got myself the full volume of Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. Someday you're going to be old enough to read fairy tales again. This isn't actually the first edition of Narnia that I have. Here I have this very beautiful green edition of the book. I love this edition very much. It looks nice, it's nice to hold, it's nice to read, and it's beautiful on the front, but this one has one major flaw. This has only the first 4 books, from The Magician's Nephew to Prince Caspian. The last 3 tales were absent. Unfortunately, I didn't find the edition with the last 3 books, however, I found this. Narnia is absolutely amazing, and it's a very underrated series. Compared to all the other series that are mentioned on BookTube, I already read The Voyage of Dawn Treader, and I'm currently reading The Silver Chair. A few words I want to say about Narnia. About Elantris, I said that it was good because it was standalone. I absolutely love the series, so like Wheel of Time, The Stormlight Archive, The Kingkiller Chronicle, and so on. However, they are very big and complex. And I also love A Song of Ice and Fire and The First Law, but they have some mature content. This, on the other hand, is great because it's told in a simple way. This has a more simple language. This isn't too big. It doesn't have mature content. And the way the story is told is very charming. I love how the story is told literally from the first point of view. It has the narrator telling you about the characters. Kinda like the chronicler from the Kingkiller Chronicle, but the chronicler is behind the scenes. Well, the title of the book is literally The Chronicles of Narnia. What I really want to say about Narnia that it's criminally underrated. I know it's one of the most famous books ever. It's just as famous as Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. It doesn't get enough credit these days. You have series like Wheel of Time, The Kingkiller Chronicle, The Stormlight Archive, The Song of Ice and Fire, The First Law, The Witcher, and others. I don't hear many people on BookTube talk about Narnia. When they talk about fantasy, they talk about the series I mentioned, but never Narnia. These books I'm going to defend, because they are very good, they're solid. Funny how Philip Pullman wrote his Dark Materials because he hated Narnia. He wanted to be darker and more realistic, and yet Narnia is still better in many ways. If you are tired of complex series and you want something easier and without mature content, and with more pleasant characters, go for Narnia. These series are easy to read and they're kinda addictive because of that. And that's all, thank you so much for watching, I hope you liked this video. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment, and follow me on social media. See you next time, goodbye.